My uncle, that is my mom's brother, has been involved in college athletics for the whole of his professional life. He started as an assistant athletic director at Wichita State, and then athletic director at Austin Peay in Tennessee, Eastern Michigan, Colorado State, K-State. And then in 2008, he became deputy commissioner for the Big 12, where he served to this day. I think he's looking forward to retirement. He was visiting with my parents the other day, talking about how college athletics have changed during his time, especially these last years. He said that, I don't know if it was the athletic director or maybe the coach from K-State, relayed that just recently a rep or an agent of a prospective QB reached out and said, hey, look, don't even bother contacting us unless you're willing to give him $5 million, because he's not accepting anything less. $5 million. My uncle said, and there's no guarantee that he'd be there for more than a year. Can you imagine? Now, perhaps given the current state of things in the college football world, it may make sense that the athletes who are necessary for the profits share in the profits, but it certainly doesn't address the real nature of college athletics or football, as well as the influence of money on that endeavor. It's so easy to become preoccupied with money and its influence and its power, which St. James seems to be suggesting affects how we assess a person's worth or value. For if a man with gold rings and fine clothes comes into your assembly, he's talking to church folk here, right? And a poor person in shabby clothes also comes in, and you pay attention to the one wearing the fine clothes and say, sit here, please, while you say to the poor one, stand there, or sit at my feet. Have you not made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil designs? Worth, value, dignity is apparently more easily obscured through wealth. But God chose those often overlooked because of their poverty. He chose them to receive the great treasure of faith. Wealth, then, must not be a good indicator of worth or even a life well lived. It's tricky, though, because you have to provide for your family, right? You have to provide for your future. It's tricky. I looked up greed in an old book on morality. If you had a crusty old priest growing up, he probably read this book. I had one. I remember him fondly, Monsignor Hussman. You'll never get to heaven on a diet of Sunday masses alone. More is needed. Anyhow, here's what that book says about greed. Earthly goods are given to us to minister to our temporal needs of body and soul, to preserve our life and the life of those dependent upon us, and to procure the means of cultivating our mind and developing our other faculties. Among these goods, some are necessary for the present or the future. It's our duty to acquire them through honest work. Others are useful in order that we may gradually increase our resources, safeguard our welfare or that of others, contribute to the common good by promoting the arts and sciences, like we're doing with the academy. It's not at all forbidden to desire these for a good purpose, so long as we give a due share to the poor and to good works. It seems very balanced, doesn't it? I think this author was drawing from St. Thomas Aquinas. He taught that external goods like money exist for a purpose, ultimately for the purpose of building up the human being. And when they're possessed in excess, that's where the evil, the sin lies. It's a little bit like gluttony. Nothing evil about ice cream, nothing evil about wine, but sit down and have a gallon of ice cream or a bottle of wine at one setting, well, that's excessive, right? That's where the sin comes in. But it's tricky because it's not cut and dry. It's not quite like thou shalt not kill. That's pretty clear. How do you know when you're becoming preoccupied with it, when there's excess? That old book on morality, it approached it this way. It said, look at these signs. See if these exist in your life, and then you have an indication that you might be preoccupied with wealth. You might be pursuing it in a wrong way. Makes sense? So here are a few of the signs that they listed. The first one's obvious. When we desire wealth for its own sake, just to have it. I just need it. Secondly, when we desire it because it brings pleasure or honor. I like it because people treat me differently. I can get things, and I get special privileges because of it. It comes out when we neglect our family or health or our employees' health so we can earn more. It shows itself when we're reluctant to spend money because we want to accumulate it and perhaps feel more secure. And they said this is especially a temptation the older in life that we get. When you're young, you don't really think about the future. But when you're older, oh my goodness, I need to do everything I can to secure it. And finally, it shows itself when we give little or nothing to the poor and to good works. And why is this so? Well, because as Jesus said, you all have one Father who is in heaven. We're all part of the same family. We all share responsibility for one another. Don't let your excesses deprive your family members, even if they're all the way in Africa, of the basic necessities of life. Don't forget the larger picture. We're involved in this cosmic act of God's redemption, which is prophesied in that first reading, that touches upon everything, the environment, all the way to the human environment. It was prophesied in the first reading and initiated in the gospel, into which you and I have been drawn. Don't get sidetracked with the niceties of life. As today's psalm said, the God of Jacob keeps faith forever, secures justice for the oppressed, gives food to the hungry, raises up those who are bowed down. May we prove to be his true children, fulfilling the purpose for which we were created, and given the many gifts and riches with which we've been blessed.